Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Monster Report live here on YouTube and on Facebook. Your host, Nick Adam here, and the Monster Report's a show highlighting those entertaining creatures of film history. If you're new here to the Monster Report, you want to like, subscribe, comment, all those great things. Of course, if you're watching us live, you want to join in on the chat. We take super chats, but we'll get to your chats as best as we can. Hopefully, there's some really good interaction here going on with my special guests and you in the chat. So we will spend little time with the open, but I just wanted to make sure that you get the chance to do that. We are homing in on that 100,000 subscribers, and it's all because of you, the fans out there that have been able to support us here at Monster Report HQ, and things are coming together real nicely. Just wanted to get a lot more content out there, and of course, promote other kaiju content creators, because I am a big fan of everything kaiju. Other content creators, podcasters, artists, musicians, anyone who creates toys, merch, things like this. That's fantastic. And of course, I want to support them best I can. So put your hands together for my special guest, Nate from Monster Island Film Vault. How you doing, Nathan?
I am doing great. And do you shamelessly promote all of these things?
Shamelessly, just like I threw your background on there. So make sure that you, if you have breath in your lungs, you are to go to the Monster Island Film Vault and subscribe. They can find you on podcasts everywhere, right? Apple Podcasts.
It is on all the podcatchers, and it's also on YouTube. And if you care, TikTok. I hate TikTok, but I put up with TikTok because I can do silly videos on there, and because my videos are silly and innocuous, they're already better than 99% of what's on that atrocious site. It's one of the worst places on the internet. I'm just saying.
I cannot disagree, but you use it regardless.
I mean,
right?
You have one major advantage. You talked about getting 100,000 subscribers. You have 100,000 subscribers because you're one letter away from being a celebrity.
And would you believe it? That is my real middle name.
I see the dirty trick that you're doing here, sir. That's actually your middle name, not your last name.
Yeah. You know, radio personalities with their, what is it? It's not pseudonym or your radio name. Pseudonym, yeah.
Or
and
it's stage name or whatever.
Right. You know, that Vin Diesel's not his real name. Okay. I mean, just everyone out there.
Oh, it's Groot.
He was Groot, but he was also not born from Mr. and Mrs. Diesel. So it's like your actor name. I'm sure the guy's name is like, Bob or something. And so
Bob, you want me to Google it right now? I'll find out Vin Diesel's real name right now.
Yeah, well, yeah, please do. While I'm talking about that, I mean, that just brings up to mind the fact that I thought Tom Cruise was not his real name. And then I found out actually it is his real name. Tom Cruise is Tom Cruise, born from Mr. and Mrs. Cruise. Born to be an actor, but
his real name is Mark Sinclair.
So, Mr. Diesel, right? Bound to be I don't even know how we got on this topic, but yeah, Nick Adam is my name, and my parents must have thought he's bound to be a kaiju fan, right? Because he was an American actor, of course, and in Rebel Without a Cause and some other smaller roles here and there, and. Of course, when I had discovered that he was in Monster Zero, I was just like, no, that can't be his real name. And it's like, yeah, that's my name, sort of. And I was like, did you guys name me after him? It's like, actually, we forgot about that actor altogether.
Right.
My parents, and it was just like, we just always liked the name Adam. And so, and my firstborn son is Eli Adam. And so we're passing along the name that way. And we use Bible middle names with all our children. And but the thing about it is I figured I'll use it. Why not?
I mean, considering the audience that you're going for, it's kind of perfect. And, it's too bad my on-air producer, Jimmy from NASA, isn't here because he's a huge fan of Nick Adams and astronaut Glenn. He keeps talking about being trained by Glenn and how Nick Adams is his spirit animal. It's all kinds of weird, but I have no control over the Jimmy. I'm just saying.
I see. Yeah,
but just so everybody knows, this is actually real Nate. This is not MIFV Nate tonight. I know I'm talking about Jimmy, but I'm not actually in character.
Yeah, if you want to get to know the character, Nate, You got to subscribe. You got to listen.
Yep.
I was listening recently to your Biolanti
Yes.
with Kaiju Kim
Yep.
and Danny DeMana, our good friends. And of course, we have Kaiju Kim singing for us.
Yeah, she's turning me into the Power Rangers theme song.
Go. All right, nice. And Michael Hamilton.
Oh, you watch out for that one.
Yes, goodness.
Yes, quite. That's another one of the little catchphrases that's gotten started up because I do too many podcasts. Monster and Full Vault's just one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we'll get to some kaiju content creation, and of course, you personally get to know the real Nathan through this. And I was just going to mention one quick thing on the Nick Adams, just because it's still fresh in my mind. Mr. Takarada, meeting him at G Fest and introducing myself as Nick Adam, showing him my ID to show him that it was really me, and that I wanted to recreate the shot of them being arrested by the Planet X aliens with when they do the thumbs down and surrender to them, actually. And it's like, well, so we recreated that scene of astronaut Glendon Fuji in the present day, and God rest his soul. We'll miss Mr. Takarada. Right. Goodness gracious, what a gentleman, what a just kind, gentle man who just incredible career and life and legacy that he's left. And my daughter was there to meet him too. She will never forget that. He was very kind to her and just brought a smile to his face to see young kaiju fans, and that's always wonderful. But yes. So tell me about, before we get to the Monster Island Film Vault and creation, where did it all start for you in the upbringing of kaiju fandom? Was it early on? Was it later in life? And what was the trigger?
It was probably, I would say, in terms of Godzilla, it was a little later in life compared to a lot of my fellow fans who talk about discovering Godzilla when they're 5-6 years old or something like that. I was, I think, in middle school. However, I did catch, which is why it's appropriate that Kim is singing the song. I did catch Mighty Morphin Power Rangers for a little while, not realizing what exactly it was. I just knew it was this new kind of weird superhero show that was live action that was on Fox, and I would catch it someday. I would catch it on Saturday mornings or during the week or whatever. Like I said, not knowing what it was. And then I remember the Trendmasters toys for Godzilla coming out and seeing them everywhere. My family shopped at Walmart all the time, and then I would see them sitting on the shelf. Like, what the heck is this? And then the trigger point for me, and I've told this story a lot, so I'll try to be a little bit brief here, was I caught, and I only know, I think, one other person for whom this was his first Godzilla film, but Terror of Mechagodzilla of all movies. And it was on TV. We were visiting my grandparents, and my grandparents had cable TV. Here's something else. I did not grow up with cable television. My parents lived out in the sticks. It was nigh impossible to get anyway. So
rabbit ears, maybe the antenna, rabbit ears.
Yeah, they just had the antenna. That's all we had, and a VCR and more VHSs than you would believe.
I love those days. Yeah.
There are many reasons why I'm a physical media guy to this day, but anyway, so getting to see cable television when we visited Grandma and Grandpa was actually kind of exciting. So we were there, and you're a fellow Hoosier, which is really cool. We actually live maybe within about an hour and a half of each other. One of these days we need to actually meet in person and do something. I don't know, record something or whatever. And so anyway, have you ever heard of WGN? If you're a Hoosier, you probably have.
Yes, network, the WGN network. I'm not sure what it stands for. It must be Warner something, but yeah, I can't remember. But yeah, I remember.
It's actually independent, an independent tech. At least at the time, it was an independent TV station. Remember that when that was a thing, when you could have TV stations that were not affiliated with the network?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. That's basically impossible now.
I worked for
what?
public access
The-
television, so it was
Yeah,
very
a little bit.
local.
But
Yeah.
it was a legit network. So anyway, they were doing
Yeah.
this thing. This was on a Sunday afternoon, and you're about to hear some of the soundboard, but it was a little thing, and we all make this joke, but it was, oh my Godzilla weekend. Mirror week. Anyway, you can have the. I see you are also a fan of the soundboard.
Yes. Roadcaster. I don't know if that's your brand or not.
Oh, me too. I have a Roadcaster.
Roadcaster. Yep. We
Yes,
shop at the same
Roadcaster
store,
Bros.
Yes. All right. That's awesome. Yeah.
Anyway,
got a few of that. They got some Ghidra. Got some Gamera. My favorite Godzilla.
Yes.
Okay, enough of that.
Yeah,
Sorry.
enough of that nonsense. But anyway, so that it was playing. I caught the second half of the movie and was intrigued. And then from there, I remember going to here's another blast from the past. Remember Kmart?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
I do. I can't remember if it was either Kmart or Walmart, and I went there and I found a VHS 2-pack for Godzilla. It was from Good Times, Good Times on Video. Remember those? And it was, of all things, King of the Monsters 56 and Godzilla versus Megalon.
Okay, yeah. I possibly in this VHS collection that I have, it's possibly in that somewhere. But yes, those double features were pretty sweet, actually.
Yeah.
But why those two? Why not?
Because I found them. Because I don't know why they were packaged together, but I found them and I'm like, okay, this is supposed to be the first movie, so I'm going to start at the beginning and see what and I don't know what this one is. Little did I realize how very different they were going to be. How very different they were going to be. So that was basically the start of my journey. I no longer have that VHS 2-pack, but I've actually been putting serious thought into buying one again off of eBay, just as kind of a memento, a little bit of a nostalgic memento, because I'm like, buying not this one specifically, but buying this VHS 2-pack was what started my journey. So that's where it started from there. So it was the Trendmasters toys. It was discovering it on cable TV and then buying the VHSs. And then I became a little obsessed with trying to find out how many of these movies there were and to see them all. I especially wanted to see Terror of Mechagodzilla, because I wanted to be able to see the first half that I hadn't seen, and complete that. And what was hilarious is I found a VHS 2-pack that had Mechagodzilla 74 in it, and I thought, oh, that must be the one I'm looking for. And then I started watching it. I don't know, it probably took me maybe 10 minutes. I don't remember exactly how long it was, but sometime early on in watching that one, I realized this is not the same movie I saw. I'm happy I found a new one. Well, where's the one I first saw? So it took me a little while to find that one and then see the first half. And then I found out that's not even the real version of the movie, because it was the crazy edited version.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. So even that one wasn't really the full movie, and I didn't get to see that until not Scimitar, it was Classic Media, until the Classic Media DVD, which I think that's the only time they've ever released one. Are you still there, man?
I am. I don't know what happened to my camera, but I'm gonna probably, because I moved it. I disrupted the it's I don't know what I disrupted. So connection wise, but yeah, keep rocking out.
Yeah, I was just saying I think that DVD is the only time where you could actually buy legally own a copy of the original TV version of the dub version that has only one edit in it.
Oh, really?
And also has the crazy prologue at the beginning that is a bunch of stock footage that just gets you caught up on all things Godzilla and contains inaccurate information. And and then it gets to the movie proper. And then also you can get the Japanese version. So
I know, yeah.
It's kind of fun, which is why
you just go ahead.
I was just gonna say, which is why I'm not parting with that copy anytime soon, even though I have the Criterion set.
But when you discovered, like I did too, that there were multiple versions of certain films, and that home video and broadcast television at times could differ. And it's like, where did that come from? Or why is it that they're speaking with that dub versus this dub? And it's like, why isn't there just one dub of it? And it's like Son of Godzilla, notoriously, Sea Monster, another one. And it's like,
Hatteras.
you know, when you discover these differing versions. And of course, that, I don't know if it happened for you, but it definitely happened for me. The intrigue of, I got to figure this out. I got to figure out why this is the way it is. And of course, that's when you start probably getting into the books at your local library or the one down the road a few miles. And I know that listening to your podcasts, that you're just a wealth of knowledge when it comes to the backgrounds, the key players, the names. And for me, that there were certain names that, you know, Ishiro Honda, Akira Takarada, Akira Fukube, but then getting into, you know, more of Tomoyuki Tanaka and, you know, just all of the different, and the suit actors, of course, names that you probably, you know, early on didn't know. But so it was like home video for you. And did it evolve more into the kind of research side of things, or did it get into collecting, or where did it go from there?
There was a bit of collecting. I did get the Trendmasters toys for a while. If you look really carefully, you can see a few of them up here on the top shelf. I have the what is it right there? I think it's the 10-inch Trendmasters Godzilla that if you wave your hand in front of it, it'll roar and the eyes will light up and the mouth lights up a little bit. And that's I bought that originally. And then my friend Michael, who's in the chat, sent me because I always wanted one, but I never got one. But it's I forget what the name for it was. I think it's called like Living Godzilla or something like that. But it's from G98, and it's the one it's about it's this almost the same. So it's a little bigger than the Trendmasters Godzilla, and it's about an inch taller, I think. And you hit a button and then it'll move at the waist and roar and the mouth opens and things like that.
Nice.
So Michael was kind enough to send that to me because he was liquidating his collection a bit. So I do have that one now. I still think that's the worst Godzilla movie, but the creature design is fine.
Yeah,
I am of that opinion. It's a terrible movie, but the creature design is fine.
It's not bad. I wouldn't call it Godzilla, but it's either Gino or it's Zilla, or it's, I don't know.
Yeah, the only reason people even still talk about it is the dang title.
Yeah, that's right.
If it had been called Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, no one would care.
Yeah, remake of Beast? Yeah, that would definitely, you know, be among like a really good remake for Beast, actually. You know, that we got to end up in Coney Island with a roller coaster, but they didn't, you know, instead of a bridge.
But it still has way more in common with that. But then again, that was part of the inspiration, I should say, for the original Godzilla, which
That's
you
right.
know because you listen to the show.
Yeah. And I'll get a few more in the chat here and get back to more of the background. Bobby Reynolds, good to have you. And then Kaiju is definitely, Kim is wanting us to talk about the lunch with Tomoko Ai, and I want to hear that story too here. Maybe just finish up with kind of where it took you from there, and maybe before with content creation. Bobby Reynolds also talking about a dinosaur toy with a Godzilla roar.
Can't say that I have.
There were a few dinosaur toys, but an official Godzilla roar, they'd probably get the ire of Toho saying,
Toho will say no ho.
It's right. Yeah.
I can't claim that joke. I stole that from MST3K.
Oh, nice. And
although I had a friend who came up with a variation. Daiei said no way.
Okay. Yep. And I'm
no, it wasn't Daiei. It was Toei said no way. That's what it was.
Toei. Okay. Yeah.
Toei, which they do a lot.
Right. It works on all those levels, actually. And of course, I'm a dad, so all these dad jokes, I'm taking notes on it. Sorry if I'm
puns
freezing.
are not all dad jokes. All right.
Okay. Gotcha.
I insist on redeeming the pun.
Right. Absolutely. So maybe before content creation, let's answer Kaiju Kim's question about Tomoko Ai from the great Terror of Mechagodzilla.
Yeah, it was last year at G-Fest because she was one of the special guests. and I met Kim at the restaurant at the entrance to the hotel because we were trying to grab a quick lunch in the middle of all of the craziness because I was on, I think, how many panels was I? You're like 6 or 7, I think. So we were just running around doing all kinds of things. And I was just grabbing a quick lunch. And little did I know, as I'm talking to her, I look over and there's Tomoko Ai acting like she's just one of us getting dinner. And I'm like, holy crap. And she's there getting lunch as well. So I took a picture of her really quick just to prove to everybody, yes, I had dinner next to Tomoko Ai.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah. Never forget that. And yeah, I haven't been to the new hotel for G Fest, and I've heard great things.
Lord, man, it's a massive upgrade. Do you watch Star Trek?
Oh yeah, love Star Trek.
Okay, if they have this center, I guess you could say hub, where they have all of the elevators. There's 4 of them going up and down all the time, and there is this centerpiece that's hanging down. It's a chandelier, and I swear to you, it looks like dilithium crystals. I'm like, is it, can we give her any more power, Captain? I mean, it's warp factor 8.
If it could do I know dilithium wouldn't make sense for it, but the promenade of DS9 would be wonderful for a hotel to have a lobby that resembles the promenade, but the dilithium for any of your classic Trek and Starship kind of look to it. But yeah, I've heard. I mean, the lobby looks amazing, incredible, wide open space there, and I'm sure that the accommodations for panels really works well. And
yeah, I just wish they would do 3 at a time instead of 2 now. But
oh, okay,
that's a whole other discussion.
Gotcha. Yeah. So having to switch things up a little bit. Kaiju Kim is saying, Tomoko Ai said her Japanese is good. Okay. Oh. It is much better than mine, which I probably know 2, 3 words of Japanese. So you're wonderful. So the content creation, was it something as a byproduct of, I don't know, so a lot of content creators have something that they've always wanted to get off their chest, get out for people to hear their story. And maybe growing up like you and I, friends in school, friends in the neighborhood, friends here and there, church, whatever. Oh, there's that Godzilla kid. And I just don't care. It's not their thing. And if you were to talk sports ball with them, of course, that'd be fine. But yeah, but it's like, no,
I can talk sports ball.
You can talk sports ball. You're already ahead of me then, because I am not a sports ball fan, and couldn't. It was just too geeky for the geeks even. And it was like, but Godzilla's awesome, dude. I mean,
you're talking to a guy who, when he was working at a restaurant for a while, one of his coworkers started a fantasy football league for other people who worked at the restaurant, and I named my team the Fort Wayne Red Shirts.
Nice.
Because I expected to lose.
Right.
And then I won our league's fantasy bowl.
Oh, Red Shirts for the win.
I couldn't believe it. I barely won, but I won. I don't know how. Everyone else was like, what the frick did you do, man? I'm like, I don't know.
Good work. Yeah.
I lost every year since then, but
okay, gotcha. But as far as trying to speak to people about this, I'd imagine some of the content creation, how did it start? What was the motivating factor for it? Right. And some of the challenges we all have getting it off the ground.
Well, there's a few quick bullet points before we get there. First thing that I like telling people is that when I was in college, when I was an undergrad, I was required to do an internship in order to graduate, as I'm sure most of us had to do when we were in college. And my writing professor I didn't even have to look. A lot of my classmates had to look. He just found somebody for me. It just set it up for me. Like, okay, man. Thanks. And so I interned at a local radio station for the summer, and it was an AM station, and it was for their local talk show. So kind of like don't get triggered by me making this comparison, okay, people? But it was basically like a local version of Rush Limbaugh.
Okay, yeah, talk
That
radio.
sort of a thing.
Yeah.
I was Spanky the intern because the host gave everybody funny nicknames. So I became Spanky the intern, which that was great.
Could you get me another little rascal? I mean,
that's what I said. I was like, please tell me he's talking about Little Rascal. Otherwise, this is a little weird. But anyway, so I got to some actual radio experience, and I bring it up because if you listen to the Monster Island Phone Vault, it's the shtick is that it's a radio show actually on Monster Island. So like think of Destroy All Monsters. That's where a lot of the inspiration came from. I also, in the late 2000s, early 2010s, 2010s, however we're supposed to say it, I had friends who were starting to get into podcasting, and podcasting was extremely fresh at that point. A little bit of a pain in the neck to get to work. It is infinitely easier to do now. The barrier to entry has been falling like the walls of Jericho when for the last like 5 years. It's ridiculous how much easier it is to get into. And so I was invited onto their show to be interviewed when my first novel was published. I'm a novelist as well. And that was pretty fun. And then I started making friends with some more podcasters, started listening to some more podcasts. There was a time for I think a year or two where I tried really hard to be a YouTuber, but I just didn't have the equipment for it. I had a cheap digital camera, and the only video software I could get my hands on was Windows Movie Maker. And I mean, I got pretty decent with it, and I'm nowhere as good at video editing as people like Kim are. If you want video editing done, talk to Kim. So, I tried my hand at that for a while because I was a big fan of some popular YouTubers at the time. And, I did my best, but, I look back on those videos now and I'm just like, man, what was I thinking at this point? And then because of a milestone episode on that first podcast I mentioned, where I was interviewed when my first book was published, that was called Derailed Trains of Thought by my friends Nick Hayden and Timothy Deal. And I've known both of them since college. Nick is a brilliant writer, and people need to buy more of his books, assuming he can get them back into print now, because the rights keep reverting back. But anyway, and I'm like, dude, get them out there. He's a brilliant writer, but he's terrible at shameless self-promotion. Anyway, that's why he has me, because I promote the books for him, like I'm doing now. So they had a milestone episode, and I was invited back on, and there was a bunch of people. It was just this cavalcade of past guests that they had on, and they were basically doing every sort of segment that they had done on the show. So they would do one on a classic movie, and they brought a guy on who would do this segment, and to my surprise, he talked about GMK. Like, okay. And then also to my surprise, they didn't tell me beforehand that they were, the first segment I got on, I volunteered to be on that live, but they asked me to be on for this segment, and he and I had a little bit of a conversation about GMK. And then when it ended, Tim joked that we should start our own podcast. A few months later, the guy asked me if I actually wanted to do that. And I said, sure. We spent about, some months. We had no idea how a podcast worked. So we were trying to figure out, we're trying to learn how a podcast works and how to set everything up. We planned this thing for a really long time, launched the show. It went off pretty successfully, but at that point I was starting grad school, and there was some other things going on behind the scenes that it just made it difficult to continue. So I ended up stepping down, and I focused on school for about a year, but I had gotten bit by the podcast bug. And, I started thinking back on all those other things that I had done, that first podcast, and I had been on several other people's podcasts at that point on various subjects. And so I'm thinking back on the radio experience, the YouTube experience, guesting on other podcasts, doing my own show for a little while. And I decided, you know what? I think I'm going to jump back into this. I'm going to jump back into the whole kaiju thing because I had a good time for the most part on that first show. So here's an interesting part of the story. I decided, because I still had this microphone. I had gotten this for the original podcast. I call that my previous podcast life now. And so I took this with me to, I'm sure you've heard of it, as you live close enough to Fort Wayne, Sweetwater Sound.
Yep. Love Sweetwater in Fort Wayne.
So right here in Fort Wayne. So I paid them a visit. And you got to understand, my sister, who's a musician, she's the one who goes nuts over Sweetwater. All right. She plays guitar and she sings, and so she geeks, and when she wants to geek out, she goes to Sweetwater. If I want to geek out, I go to a comic shop. All right. That's just how these things work. So I walk in there and I have this microphone with me because I bought this mic at Sweetwater, and I said, hey, like to get back into podcasting. I need something. Do you have something that can let me connect this microphone into my laptop? Because that's essentially what we did on the previous show. And this guy's like, oh, wait, we got something. And he takes me and he shows me the Rodecaster Pro, what I'm using right now, what you are using. So we have dueling soundboards here. And it was a new product at the time, and he showed it off. I am flipping out in the middle of this store. Okay. I'm like, what is this? My mind was just blown. But then I saw the sticker on. I'm like, I just don't think I can. I'd love to, but I can't. It's like, oh, but wait, there's more. Because it's a new product. You can sign up for this card and get on a payment plan, interest free. I'm like,
oh man, yeah, this had better pay off.
And then it was one of those searches like, heart says yes, head says wait a second. And so I said, let me think about it. And then, this was spring break, okay, for my first year as a grad student. So I go and I talk to a few people, including actually the professor because I went to Purdue Fort Wayne for my grad degree. And I went to her. She was my boss because I was working at the university as well as a graduate teaching assistant to help pay for my education there. And she's like a sort of a spiritual person, but not like a Christian or anything. And I just mentioned to her, it's like, I'm starting to wonder if with all of these things just lining up, is God telling me to start this podcast? And she said, you know what? I think he is. And then I think within another day or two, I went back over to Sweetwater. I said, okay, I'll take the soundboard. But I knew if I got the soundboard, there's no going back. This is too big of an investment. This is too big of a commitment because it was like a 4-year payment plan, which, by the way, I paid off in 2. And it was like, this is too big of an investment to turn back. So I bought the thing, and that was, I want to say March 2019. Recorded the first 2 episodes in August, and the show premiered in September.
Oh wow. And but you found that the right equipment can get you that ease of use. It's like I don't have to be focused on all the quality control of the episode because I have the equipment in place that I can focus on the content and not so much the tech side of things. And I tell you this much, it saved my butt with August Ragone. You just said the word August and Rodecaster, and I was thinking of when I had him on the show. You've had him on your show, right?
I had him on Henshin Men, yeah.
Okay, and did he phone in or did he video?
He phoned in.
Phoned in, and
no, it wasn't a phone. It was we were using an online in-browser podcasting service called Zencaster. Is it Zencaster? Okay. Yeah, Zencaster, which I don't use anymore because Zencaster got weird.
Huh. But it was like so it was probably using the audio through the laptop. But since
what I do is I use some sort of, I used to go through Skype, and then I grew to dislike Skype.
Same.
And so I switched over to Zencaster, and now I'm using StreamYard.
Yep.
To record audio. So I will call somebody up on one of those. I will send them a link. They jump in. I record on there, but I also record on the soundboard. So I have backups.
Yeah. When August, he phoned in because we could not get his camera for whatever reason working at all. And then even the audio on his laptop or whatever wasn't working. So he called in and I was like, I've never done this before, but I'm doing this on the fly because we were live. I'm trying to fill and stretch. And it's like, up. August, can you hear me? Yes, I'm with you. And it was like beautiful. I got him on my line, USB into the Rodecaster, and it was like he was in the room next to me. And it was just like, thank you, having the right equipment in place and all of that. So, but yeah, you learn a lot through getting into this. And, I've learned a ton too. I even I'm a Ball State grad. So, Indiana.
Okay. I thought about going to Ball State for my grad degree.
Yeah. And it's like, yeah, obviously it's a broadcast school quite a bit. Mm-hmm. David Letterman's old stomping grounds, and it's
Papa John of Papa John's.
Papa John's began in Muncie and with Ball State. Yeah. And but it's huge with broadcasting. It's also got, public television built into it, WIPB. Oh, and who really got their start, in Muncie with WIPB is Bob Ross.
Yep.
The painter.
Yep. Yeah. My brother, who's an artist, my brother Jared, who's also my roommate, he is a fan of Bob Ross. And for his birthday, we went and visited the Bob Ross experience and learned a lot of stuff about that. Mm-hmm.
The Minnetrista Bob Ross in Muncie, Indiana? Or was it? Yeah, because it travels. But yeah, the actual one in Muncie. Yeah, I've heard it's really good. I haven't had the chance to visit it. But the this broadcast thing, and I was like going through television and figuring that whole thing out, shooting my own video, editing it, and it's like, well, I do all this because I didn't want to be in front of the camera. But it was like I ended up saying, okay, we're going to do this and go for it. Was it for you, the YouTube thing versus podcasting? Do you kind of like the one versus the other, an advantage to one versus the other because of the fact that you kind of like to listen to podcasts in the car? I was listening to your podcast in the car, whereas YouTube, it's going to chew up my data, of course, and I may not have a place with good data, and I may not have 2 hours to sit in front of a machine, a computer, or someplace with Wi-Fi to watch and listen like this. And I don't simulcast mine as a podcast on Apple and whatever else. I did a little bit. But for you, was your audience kind of liking that format, being able to take it with them on their phone and listen as they, kind of go with long form media like that?
Oh, I so much prefer podcasting to being a YouTuber. For me, it's not to say that there isn't work. There is, because as time has gone on, the Film Vault in particular has gotten more ambitious, and I've kind of gotten buried under that ambition.
Yeah.
But so there's, depending on the segment, depending on what I'm doing for an episode, there could be a lot of editing. But for the most part, I find it easier than YouTubing. Now, the way YouTube works now compared to when I was trying to do it, it's different. There's more of an emphasis on either short form content or long form content, like what we're doing now with the live streams, as opposed to these hyper produced videos. There's still plenty of those out there, but there's less of an emphasis on those now. And I was trying to do that. And like I said, I did not have the equipment to do it. And I didn't have the software to do it. And it is so much easier to get started with good software for podcasting compared to videos, because I use Audacity, and I know people who use Reaper. In my previous podcast life, we used Reaper for a little while, and I've thought about switching to Reaper because I have friends who swear by it. And the Audacity is freeware, so you can get it for free, and it's actually very good for what it does. Reaper is sort of free, but if you opt in with it, it's a one-time fee and you own it forever and you get all the updates. So it's not one of these weirdo subscription models that all these things are switching to, which drives me nuts. I mean, I'm still rocking an 8-year-old, I think it's 8 years old, 10, it might be 10 years old, I don't know, 10-year-old version of Microsoft Office so I can use Word, because I don't feel like paying them
I know,
20
right?
bucks a month or whatever. It's just like, you know what? I gave you $100 to get all these programs and I own it forever. And I've used the newer versions. They don't offer too much, that the old version doesn't have. So,
Uh-huh. It's like Adobe right now being subscription based, and that's really, oh man, unless you're really using it to monetize your content, it's kind of not worth
or
it.
just using it a lot. I mean, I can
Yes.
understand, like, as I have friends like Michael, who's in the chat, at least he was. He's a graphic designer, so he's subscribed to Adobe. Makes sense. It's part of his job.
Yep.
But I only use Photoshop a little bit throughout the month to do some stuff, mostly promotional work for for the podcast, maybe some photo editing here and there. I don't use it enough to justify that much of an expense.
Yeah, no, I get it. And we get some more chats in here. And speaking of Michael, yeah, he needs to get back in here and throw you a curveball question. I asked earlier Danny DeManna to see if he could give you some trivia questions, and he never responded. So he probably knew you would not be stumped by them. So
Yeah, well, I keep trying out for Jeopardy every year at G-Fest, and I keep not getting in.
Oh, really? So Bobby Reynolds is in the chat. What if Godzilla fights an army of Daleks from Doctor Who? I think that would be. I think that's
my money's still on Godzilla.
Yeah,
but absolutely. That would be really interesting to say the least.
Yeah, there's those little robot sort of.
Oh yeah,
almost.
They're
like,
actually cyborgs, but yeah.
Cyborgs.
They look like they look like R2-D2's chain smoking cousins.
Yeah, and they have no feet, or they have little rollers, don't they?
No, they hover.
No, they hover. Okay.
The props have wheels, but they're supposed to be hovering.
Got it.
Like just slightly off the ground. I watch Doctor Who, so
okay, yeah, you would know this. Jake Hambrick's in the house. Thank you. Good to have you.
He is one of my listeners and my patrons.
Ah, excellent.
One of the members of MIFV Max on Patreon.
And I was going to say, you have your Patreon, so people need to, they're going to support you. The Patreon is pretty darn inexpensive for users to get in there.
You can join in for as little as $3 a month.
And that's just a little tip to throw at Nate and what he does, and it's great content, and I encourage people to do that. And then also, speaking of helping another Kaiju content creators out, Kaiju Kim, Kickstarter, Erica, you can check that out. It's a Kickstarter that's got in the neighborhood of, I think, 40 or so days left. I could be wrong, but that is something that Kaiju fans can support. It's a very interesting and ambitious project. So, Kim, I applaud you for that, and I just really hope that you get there, or in some form or another, if the Kickstarter doesn't work, in some form or another, you and Danny, who's working together on this, can make something happen with it. So, and she subscribes to Adobe Premiere Pro. Yeah, that's the video editing side of things, and you do great work with your editing. I'm a Final Cut guy, so but yeah, Adobe's got some great stuff too. Yeah.
And just to give her a little bit of a plug, which Erica is based on Godzilla versus Biollante, so the girl whose soul got grafted into the rose, which was then combined with the Godzilla DNA. It's basically the events of that movie, but from her perspective, being stuck inside of Biollante. And Alyssa Goji Geek is voicing her. If you watch the trailer is haunting. the trailer is haunting. Danny's writing it, and so it's like this Avengers of content creators coming together to make this. It's great, and so definitely go support it. And I forget what I was going to get to.
Well, and I was also going to mention she's going to get an animator who's real top notch. Yeah. That can really make it look beyond what, just some I don't know, amateur animator who could do some fun stuff and funny stuff, but someone who could actually do a good job to make it look like it wasn't old school South Park looking, really make it sharp. And I know she is definitely into the quality of it. To make it something that's basically a masterpiece, and I'm looking forward to seeing it, and I really hope and pray that it does get
Now I remember the other thing. Another plug for Kim. She runs a business called Nuclear Lizard Productions. If you need video editing services, contact her. She's got you covered.
And there's a lot of.
She also does audio editing. She's edited a few podcast episodes for me, actually.
Okay, excellent. And yeah, that's something that it's like you could shoot a lot and you could be the raw content creator, but then it's like, oh, I got to go and edit this.
Oh,
I don't got time to edit this.
I stand corrected, Kim. It's Nuclear Lizard Media. Oops.
And I know she's got a Twitter and Instagram and I believe Facebook for Nuclear Lizard Media. Mm-hmm. So definitely follow her on that. And I'm sure there's someone who knows a content creator. It doesn't need to be kaiju related. It could be anything. Yeah. And so
she's done projects for a bunch for YouTubers. I think she did one. I want to say, correct me if I'm wrong, Kim. I think she did one for a church.
Okay. Excellent. So, yeah. And short form, long form, I'm sure. Yeah. Any kind of content, throw her way and she can use that and also continue to produce her great kaiju content. And of course, Thursday Toys just had him on a couple of weeks ago on this Monster Report Live, and he does great work on YouTube creating drinks that are related to kaiju. So
I just saw him at G-Fest a couple of weeks ago. I saw him at All Monsters Attack Sooner, and the funny thing was, in the funny fictional universe of my podcast, I because there's a resort on Monster Island now, and I've made offhand remarks about there being drinks being served at the various places on the resort, and he's actually going to try to make one, because I said that there's one that they claim they put Mothra dust in it so it sparkles, and he's actually trying to make it happen. So
wow, okay, he will make it happen.
He's working on it. He showed me a video of his first draft, I guess you could say, and it was great.
Okay, working on that Mothra drink. That's interesting. This is what I love: collabs of content creators and collabs of just fans of this stuff. And of course, you're a regular G-Fest attender, and it's been a long time since I've been going, just because it's
and panelists.
And panelists, yes, hosting panels, being guests on panels, and of course, just general mingling with other kaiju fans, and of course, getting autographs. I'll share this. Because my good friend Chris Olio is a regular Seismic Toys with the I
love Seismic.
Yeah,
I'm friends with Alex Rushdie.
Alex, yep, Dawn of the Monsters, and he's part of Seismic as well. And Chris, he always gets me some autographs. So from last year's G-Fest and Miss I. So yes, I've not got the chance to meet. I did meet Tomoko I years ago, but did not get an autograph. And unfortunately, I did not get the chance to meet him. I know that was, I think, his first G-Fest, wasn't it?
Yeah, he basically just kind of disappeared for years, and then someone found him a few years ago and got him to come, and he was just like, you people love me? Like, he only acted for, I think, 2 years as a kid, and then just quit, went back to school, and became a regular person. He's an airline pilot now. So the fact that he's here at G-Fest and we're all like, oh my gosh, man, we love you. And he's like, okay.
That is cool. And being able to meet, of course, years gone by, the Kira Takarada, and of course, Don Fry. I think he came back after a long hiatus.
Did you hear Kim and I's little video where we did Don Fry facts in the style of Chuck Norris facts?
Oh my, no. This I have to listen to. What episode would that be? Because
it wasn't on a podcast episode. I recorded it originally for TikTok, and then we both reposted it to our YouTube channels.
I will be checking that out then. Yes.
Yeah, we've added, I think I can rattle them off. I wrote them down on my phone, and I've since added another one.
Okay.
So do you want to hear them? I don't want to derail everything.
If you can route in the audio while Kim's.
Oh no, I mean, I can just read them.
Oh, just read them. That's fine. In the style
right now. Oh, you should go watch the video. The video is funny because you got to remember, we only had a minute to say 10 of these, and Kim just breaks down laughing after about 4 of them, and I had to kind of like get everything back under control so we could finish that. Oh, Thursday, he saw the video. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So here you go. Here you go. I mean, I suppose. Should I just? Can I share? Can I share screen on this?
Or if you shoot me the link, I can share screen on my end.
I'll send.
Yeah.
You know what? It's probably funnier to actually watch the video. So just give me a second. We'll vamp a little bit while I look.
Okay. Yeah. And while you're looking for that, I will bring up, of course, you don't need to be shameless self-promotion. I'll promote for you. MonsterIslandFilmVault.com. And, of course, support him on Patreon. I know you're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok. And I don't know, there's plenty of other weird social outlets out there that people talk about.
You've got all the important ones.
Yeah. And, of course, I prefer Apple Podcasts, of course, for my podcast to download and listen, but Google Podcasts, and there's other Podbean, I'm sure.
Podbean. They're my host, actually. And then and I reroute everything to the website, which you see right there.
Yep. All right.
Yes, Kim, you got the giggles. All right. I am sending you the link now in the private chat.
Got it.
So there you go. That is from the Film Vault. The same thing, like I said, was also posted on Kim's channel.
Okay, we'll share screen, and if the stars align, you're seeing you and Kim. Is it working on your end?
Hi, we're at G-Fest, and we want to show you something that we came up with while we were waiting in line to get autographs. It's Don Fry facts. So, number one, Shin Hayata uses the beta capsule to transform into Ultraman, but Ultraman uses the beta capsule to transform into Don Fry.
Don Fry's mustache always travels first class.
Don Fry shaves with a katana, but his mustache says no.
Don Fry can arm wrestle Godzilla and win.
Gohara, the dark and long-haired monster, was played by Don Fry's mustache.
Don Fry will hit a woman and everyone else.
The Japanese word kaiju loosely translates as Don Fry.
Calling vows to no one except Don Fry.
The world is in ruins and the war is over because Don Fry.
There are two things you don't know about the Earth: Don and Fry.
And we're done because we ran out of time. Hi, we're at G-Fest, and we want to show you some.
Wonderful. Yeah.
And we have since come up with one more. So here's a bonus for you. Don Fry sleeps. His mustache doesn't.
Nice. Very nice. Isn't it great to get Godzilla more into the popular culture? You get the Chuck Norris connection there. I did the Elon Musk X video with the Final Wars short.
X.
Yeah. Somebody had to do it. So it's
I've also seen Ultraman X.
Okay. Yeah.
There's also a Kamen Rider X.
Right. Yeah. There's so many references.
I've seen an X-Men joke. I made a Mega Man X joke.
The pop culture, we got to get Godzilla more in the pop culture, of course, because we have, Legendary doing their thing, getting it into American audiences. And of course, you and I, we're kind of like the purest of things. It's like we love our Japanese Godzilla. We love we love looking back at the tokusatsu side of things. And it's like, you like Legendary, you got to go back to the origins of Godzilla. And then they're kind of like, no, I kind of like the, give me the sugar, high of Legendary. And, we kind of like, no, but there's some meat and potatoes here with the Showa. Let's get the, origins of Godzilla in here and real, Japanese Godzilla. I don't know how many times I've had to tell people, yes, he originated in Japan. He is not an American creation. Never has been. So you're serious?
I think you need new friends.
Yeah.
If they hang out with you and they don't know that Godzilla's from Japan,
it's people you talk to. It's the normies.
Normies, got it.
Normies, not the diehards like you and I. Yeah,
Bobby Reynolds has a comment I want to address.
Okay.
Yeah, he says Don Fry would make a perfect Hagar from Final Fight. Funny you say that. He's played Hagar.
You're kidding?
No, there's a Final Fight fan film. I think. Oh, dang it! Well, I can't remember what it's called offhand. But he plays Hager in it.
He looks it. Yeah, he's got that right down. Okay, so it's
It's gonna bug me till I remember what it's called. But
okay.
It was funny. I showed it to some of my gamer friends, and I said like, "Oh yeah, I've met that guy."
And while you're looking,
give me a second. I won't. It's The Broken Gear. That's what it's called.
okay.
The Broken Gear, a Final Fight film. I will put a link to it in the chat. But yes, and actually, I know Don Fry is in it because he's in the thumbnail.
Oh well, cool. And so,
I have to join the chat to do it. Unfortunately.
Oh, that's okay. But yeah, maybe put it in the comment for the video on demand. But yeah, Bobby, you're gonna have to check that out there. Just like Dolph Lundgren would make Duke Nukem. Yep.
Duke Nukem. But his most famous line he stole from Rowdy Piper.
Oh, what was the line?
I came to chew bubblegum and kick ours, and I'm all out of gum. Yeah, he stole that from Roddy Piper from They Live.
Ah, gotcha. Okay. So all kinds of references that we can make. I know that for you, it's not just Godzilla, the IP of Tokusatsu, Japanese sci-fi. Does it go beyond that? Anime, manga?
Yeah. I read manga. I've watched anime. Well, I saw what I found out later was anime when I was younger. When I got to college, I call it my proper introduction to anime. So I've been watching anime ever since. And I have several friends who are really into anime, including one of my favorite guests on the show, Bex from Redeemed Otaku, who was an anime podcaster for a while. And is partly responsible for one of the characters who's on the show. Crystal Lady Jessica. That's been a whole saga. And there's still more to come. And it's funny, Kim has actually voiced one of the villains of the week for Crystal Lady.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was fun. And then my first love in, I guess you could say, nerdy things was Star Trek. I started on that when I was like 3 or 4 years old. And I discovered Star Wars a few years later when I was like 10 or so, got into that a bit. I love reading authors like C.S. Lewis and J.R.R. Tolkien. Lord of the Rings is my favorite book of all time. So, I'm into a lot of different things.
And then your writing, you talked about, I'm not as familiar with it. So is it kaiju related? Is it fiction, nonfiction?
I do both.
Okay.
I do both. If I knew you were going to ask me about my books, I would grab my personal copies of all of them over there on the on the shelf. But no, I've written science fiction. I've written fantasy. My first novel was called Pandora's Box. It's military science fiction. And I have a kaiju novella, and I've contributed to a kaiju anthology of short stories. I've written a collection of short stories, one of which is kaiju. I have a fantasy comedy book called Ninjas and Talking Trees, which was inspired by a joke in one of my college lit classes. A running joke, I might add. I didn't come up with it though, but I was like, you know what? I won't explain the whole joke, but we basically, as a class, decided all good stories must have ninjas and talking trees in them, and I couldn't find one, so I wrote one.
All right. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, the talking trees I know, but ninjas and together. Yeah. That's a first.
Together, finally. The combination you never knew you needed.
Right. And then where can we find these? I know monsterislandfilmvault.com, right?
Yeah. My author website, nathanjsmarchand.com, because yes, I had to use both of my middle initials because nathanmarchand.com, that domain was already taken. And I found out that there is actually another Nathan Marchand who is a writer, but he writes very dense technical manuals, so we're never going to get mixed up. I still get emails sometimes saying, did you write this techno-babbly thing? And in the 70s, like, no, I wasn't even born.
But I'm going to run with it.
Yeah. If you'll send me a check.
if there's a decent paycheck in it. And so, is it also available on like Amazon?
They're all on Amazon,
Mhm.
so you can go find them. You can go find them all on there. The Kaiju novella is called Destroyer, so you'll probably want to put my name in there to find it. I'm putting serious thought into retitling the thing.
Nice. And then last request from the chat, and then we'll start closing things up with some more shameless promotion.
Shameless self-promotion.
Self-promotion, yes.
Yep.
Thoughts on Kaiju number 8?
Go. I haven't read it yet, so I can't comment.
Okay, I can't either.
Yeah.
So
I have one of the freebies. Maybe it's the first issue, but it was a free comic book day thing, and it's been sitting on my pile waiting to be read. Haven't gotten to it yet, so I know it's a bit of it's gaining prominence because it's a manga and it's being made into an anime, and there aren't a lot of kaiju in anime, so people are kind of excited about that.
Okay, excellent. And I was going to say you also contribute to Kaiju Ramen.
Yes, I'm actually the editor.
Okay.
For the magazine, and I've been published in all but one issue so far.
Okay, yeah. And so between writing and the Monster Island Film Vault, content creation has definitely been, and you've been guests on podcasts from other content creators. And so is there any kind of plans coming up, any kind of ambitious goals that you're looking forward to?
I need to get season 4. The Film Vault started.
Season 4.
This has been one of the. I have been behind on it because I've been doing a bunch of things. Working, and at one point I was doing 3 podcasts. I'm kind of slowly, shrinking that down now because I also do the Power Trip, a journey through the Power Rangers franchise with Michael Hamilton, Henshin Men, which was a show I started with Travis Alexander, and I've basically inherited it, and so I'm kind of stewarding that show right now. And the Film Vault is entirely mine, and I'm also a voice actor with Scyther podcasts for their audio dramas. Did you watch Power Rangers growing up?
Oh yes, yeah. Yeah.
It's not okay. It's not. He doesn't show up until the end of season 2, but I play Rito.
Okay.
Rita's brother. Much to the chagrin of Michael, because sometimes Rito hijacks the Power Trip.
Oh my.
Oh man. And yeah, my Rito's pretty different from the show though.
Got it. Yeah.
He's a little bit dumb, but he's more sociopathic than he is dumb. Very sadistic too. Yeah. Give that a listen. Power Rangers, the audio drama from Scyther podcast. And I just got cast in their other show, which is X-Men, the audio drama. I'm still catching up on that. And I have been cast of all people, Deadpool.
What?
I know. I was personally asked to be Deadpool on this show.
Well, okay.
And I'm a he's not in the show proper. He was a post-credit gag.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay.
He interrupts the credits and says, "When am I gonna be on the show?" And and then he gets cut off. And then there's a post-credit scene where he calls up Carl, who runs Scyther podcast, and basically does the same thing. When am I going to be on the show?
So your commitment to that is minimal, but leaves an impact.
Yeah, but I have been told eventually Deadpool will show up in the show proper. I just don't know when.
Okay,
that is all up to Carl. And Carl did tell me about one really insane idea he has for next year to celebrate Scyther podcast 10th anniversary, and I'm not saying a word because only his patrons know, and it's nuts, and I can't wait.
All right, something to look forward to.
Yeah, so there's that. I am currently finishing up season 3 of the Film Vault, and I'm hoping to move on to season 4. Season 4, I've got a bunch of season 4 episodes recorded already. I'm just trying to get stuff done. One of the drawbacks of being more ambitious and having more characters show up on the show is I have to start asking more people to play parts, and some people drag their feet getting lines to me. So I keep pestering them to send me lines, and yeah, so it's a thing. And so, I'm waiting on one more set of lines, and then I'll just be going crazy, and episodes are just going to start coming out, just one after another. But the next, currently season 3 is Kaiju, so we're looking at American-made kaiju movies, because unlike some people, I I don't think it has to be strictly Japanese to be kaiju. So so that'll be wrapping up. Season 1 was King Kong, and then some filler episodes on other things, because Godzilla versus Kong kept getting delayed. And I had to schedule it perfectly to finish the Kong coverage right when GVK originally was supposed to be out. And then season 2 was the Year of Gamera, and then we have this season 4 I'm calling the Monster Island World Tour. So it will be about kaiju movies from countries other than America and Japan.
So, for example, like recently, Gorgo has been.
Gorgo, Gorgo's one of them. So far, we have recorded. I've recorded episodes on Super Inframan, Mighty Peking Man, Yonguri, the original Yonguri, and Reptilian, which was a remake of Yonguri. Yeah. But Gorgo's on the list. My friend and patron Damon Noyes will finally get his wish. We'll get to Reptilicus.
Oh man, yeah.
He is the biggest fan of Reptilicus I've ever heard. So it's to the point where it's almost a joke how much he loves Reptilicus. And we're going to be talking primarily about the original Danish version, because both of us have been able to acquire a copy.
Now that should be interesting, because I don't think I've ever seen that. Just the DVD version that's out there, which is
right.
International.
I can check to see where I got it, if they still have it for you, in case you want to.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So that'll be a little bit unique when we get to it. Gorgo, Kim, I know you want to be on it. I do have a guest lined up for it right now, but if all else fails, you could come on for Gorgo. I would be more than happy to have the Queen of the Fabulous Empire on for Gorgo.
and never to invite myself, like Kaiju Kim did, to an episode. But if you ever want to reach out and need another voice,
just let me know what you would be interested in. I can tell you what I have coming up, and if anything strikes your fancy, I can get you on.
Sounds good. We've got
or you could just join Patreon and pay me to have you on the show. Shameless self-promotion, because that is one of the higher end tiers. You can pay for something to be covered, and if you really want to be hardcore about it, pay a little extra, you get to come on the show.
Yeah. And I was just going to mention, when you mentioned things about film vaults, I always think of physical film. We have physical media now, but film hardly exists as far as like what we can get our hands on. But in the old days, you had your 8mm or Super 8 films that you could get a projector and watch. So this is literally a film, a 8mm, not Super 8, because there is no audio. There is title cards of Varan, and it's the version that is mostly with the American actor in it and all that, but it's mostly just visual effects. That television broadcast. American
I can't
version.
remember that guy's name. I have that version on DVD, and it's one of the worst kaiju DVDs I've ever seen.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Good Lord. I get it. It's not a good movie, but why was the official release of it so awful?
Oh, I know. Yeah. And it wasn't even trying. It wasn't even trying to give you the suspension of disbelief that they actually went to these locations. It's just tacked in there. So anyways, but yeah, and Bobby Reynolds, thank you. Shoot me anything in the chat. Bobby's a follower of the show, and I encourage you, Bobby, follow Monster Island Film Vault and all that Nathan's got to offer. And so follow every social outlet Nathan has out there, between the Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, or X. Yeah. And
X.
Yeah, and MonsterIslandFilmVault.com, and you've got some great new content coming out? Do you try to do a monthly or bi-monthly or
for episode releases?
Yeah,
it was originally twice a month with a bonus episode on, because I tried originally. The show was published on Wednesday, so if there was, it would be the second and fourth Wednesday. If there was a fifth Wednesday, I'd do a bonus episode. Well, the schedule's all screwed up now, so I think once I actually really get to churning them out, it will probably end up being a weekly show for a little while, just to get myself caught up, because I'm crazy like that. And yeah, I want to get back on track, because I like starting a season at the beginning of the year and then finishing by the end of the year.
And fresh content like this is great for us Kaiju fans, because it's like we could listen to a political podcast or a rant podcast or anything like that, or even a YouTuber that's all they do is rant about politics and the things that they have in their social versions of things. And it's like, we want to talk about what entertains us, what we love about the entertainment industry that speaks to us. There's plenty of the Disney's got its thing going, Paramount's got its thing going. Show me some tokusatsu. Show me some sweet giant monster action here. That's what we want to get into and talk about, and brings us Kaiju fans together, regardless of our political affiliation, regardless of our origins, our backgrounds, or any opinions that we might have, because we love this content and we can get along well, even if we disagree on things like Godzilla versus Mothra 92 or whatever. I don't know, something like that. We can love it or hate it, or all monsters attack, things like that. We can say, yeah, we still love all this content regardless, and we can get together. And I think this has been a fantastic conversation, Nathan. I really hope that we can get you some more subscribers, followers, patrons, because all of that is great content, and just continue doing what you're doing, and just be encouraged that there's still the audience.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Yeah. So just, I do want to, if I may, I'll just take a few moments here to explain to people, I've been mentioning a lot of things that make up the Film Vault. It was funny you were saying, like, we could listen to a political podcast or a rant podcast. Well, the Film Vault's kind of both. There are points where I will rant. There are points where I will rant. Now, it's mostly exaggerated for humor.
Right. It's
although
your
the opinions are still my own, but I will exaggerate for humor. But what the thing that I do on the Film Vault that I'm really proud of is that I like to say it's 3 parts film analysis and appreciation, 1 part audio drama. And when I say film analysis and appreciation, I will actually do, and you've mentioned it, I will do research. I'm just looking over to my right now, and I have a pile of books that I will be referencing for my next recording, which will be actually on Godzilla's Revenge later this weekend. I've got a handful sitting on the shelf right above my laptop here. So I do a lot of research to understand the cultural and historical context of all these movies, to give my listeners a bit more perspective, because I think, in particular, like we'll say All Monsters Attack, Godzilla's Revenge, it was very popular to say that was the worst Godzilla movie ever. Well, here's the thing. If you know more about what was going on in Japan in the late 60s and what was going on with the making of the movie, and then watch it in Japanese, because the dub does it no favors.
Right. Yeah.
You will gain a substantial appreciation for it. In fact, it has become popular to reevaluate the movie because of that. So that's the sort of stuff you can expect to hear on there, because my goal is to break down. I can't break down the barrier entirely, because we are not for that movie in particular, we're not a late 1960s Japanese audience. We're never going to be that, because that was the original intended audience. But you can still break down a bunch of the barriers as modern day Americans watching this movie. So that's always what I endeavor to do with all of these, which is why the tagline for the podcast is seeking entertainment and enlightenment through tokusatsu. And then the audio drama stuff comes from the fact that originally it was just a shtick. I'm doing a radio show, and so I'll make references to being on Monster Island, and then I had people listeners who would create characters that would show up on social media and then they get on the show.
Okay.
It was so incredible. Like I mentioned, Damon created a lawyer character that showed up on Twitter, and then he messaged me, and then I messaged that account and said, "Welcome to the family." He said, "Hey, I'm actually Damon." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, you're Damon." Then I found that he was an actor. So I have had him play his lawyer character on the show, who's brilliantly named Raymond Martin. So, so it's been this fun thing. So more characters have been added. So there will be audio drama segments with an ongoing storyline going on. I mentioned Crystal Lady Jessica is a recurring character on there who is actually played by my real life sister, who is not into this stuff at all. So how I talked her into doing this, I don't know.
Is the Lady Jessica a reference to Dune rather than
no?
Okay.
Yeah. There's a whole to do about how she came to be. Listen to Rebirth of Mothra Part 3 to get her origin.
Yeah,
but no, the joke on the show, because she came about because of a teleporter accident. So she's basically a female clone of MIFV Nate. So the joke is that she is his pseudo sister, and since she's essentially female Nate, if I was a girl, my parents would have named me Jessica, so that's where I got that name. And then Crystal Lady, I found a name generator for magical girls online, and I just saw what it would spit out, and it spat out Crystal Lady. I'm like, you know what, I like that one. So
yeah, when I hear Lady Jessica, I was like, Dune. Yeah. So, but there's another IP that's a lot of nerds like us and geeks that can just get into these.
The spice must flow.
Oh yeah, so quotable. Yeah, and it's so funny how this used to be the geeky thing, and these things start becoming new again. Superhero things used to be the geek thing, the comic books, and then it becomes the pop thing and the trending thing. And I almost would rather it be the thing that I had, that it was mine. And if I were 12 years old, when the Avengers were doing things, I would be in heaven. But since I wasn't, I was going back to my first love, which was Kaiju. And it was always there for me, regardless of whatever Legendary was doing. So that's why I think listening to this content from other creators gets me excited to be somewhat of a kid again, and also kind of living through my kids who get to absorb this content and to get into the idea that I kind of discovered this and started putting the pieces together of the backgrounds of Tokusatsu and the love that we have for it, and why it's lasted throughout the years and 30 plus Godzilla films alone, and then boundless amounts endless amounts of peripheral kaiju classics that we have. And so that's fantastic. I look forward to having you on another episode in the near future. We'll probably pick some topic and see what we can do about unpacking and digesting some of that and getting some opinions out. But this is a great introduction from my audience to your audience, and vice versa, to have you on. And I know we've planned on doing this, and I'm glad we got the chance to get this out here. So thank you again for your time. You've been very generous with it, and looking forward to the next bit of content you got coming out. So thank you again for all your time.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure, man. I had a good time.
Yep, and stick around after we get off the air. We'll say our proper goodbyes, and thank you, everyone, for joining us in another episode of Monster Report Live here on Facebook and on YouTube. Like, subscribe, comment, all those great things, and we appreciate all the support. Follow Monster Island Film Vault, and we will catch you on another episode of the Monster Report Live. Have a great evening.